Today, we embark on a journey inspired by the brilliance of none other than Albert Einstein. Einstein, a titan of science, extended his genius to the realm of finance. He famously labeled compound interest as the eighth wonder of the world, affirming its pivotal role in wealth creation. His wisdom echoes, "He who understands it earns it, he who doesn't pays it." Introducing Solos Money Management, the bridge to democratizing financial expertise. At the heart of our approach lies the transformative power of compound interest. We're not just another financial platform, we're your partners in harnessing this powerful phenomenon to its fullest potential. Our expertise enables us to channel this force into bespoke programs tailored to propel you towards your unique financial aspirations. But what truly sets Solos apart is our commitment to inclusivity. We've shattered the barriers that once confined sophisticated financial strategies to the privileged few. Now these strategies reside at the core of the Solos platform, accessible to everyone.
Former Representative Randy Hultgren out of the 14th District of Illinois. I do have to say, I did a little bit of research, right? Usually it's Apple research, but this is discovery. This is good research. This is a beautiful, beautiful thing. I've noticed some of the bills that you've sponsored. Told me a little bit about who you are as an individual. Finance and financial sector. That tells me that, a lot of people, especially now more than ever, are hurting financially. The idea of the poverty line is something that many are experiencing right now. Unfortunately, inflation is crazy. And, it's great to see somebody who cared enough to sponsor a bill that can make an impact. International affairs, we as a country, and it's amazing to me, the United States of America is the only country that has ever done this. I mean, even after World War II, the whole European continent is flat with the Nazis, and the first thing America does, let's go and rebuild Europe. While it could have been like, hey, I'm just going to stay back here and enjoy the idea of having a monopolized economy where I am a superpower, the rest isn't. And that's fascinating. And to see that you were passionate enough to sponsor international affairs, energy, science, technology, communication, transportation, and public works, representing the everyday average person. And of course, government operations and politics. That's something that many should pay attention to. But everything that I see that you've sponsored or you're focused on had an actual personal human element instead of just business as usual or politics as usual. How does it work? Do you pick the bill that you want to sponsor based on just constituents, or is there a little bit of I'm really passionate and want to make a legacy and want to make an impact? Tell us a little bit about how you went about that from a political side, and then I'm going to dig a little bit more into where you are right now as far as the private sector and what you're passionate about.
I appreciate it. Well, I think it's all different ways, and it's one more thing I would encourage people to get involved is to get to know your elected officials. Honestly, they work for you, and you shouldn't be afraid to reach out to your member of Congress, your representatives. Sometimes senators are a little tougher to get a hold of, but still they work for you. They ought to be open to having you come and talk with them and meet with them. But certainly your state legislators, state representatives, state senators, local officials, mayors, county board members, build those relationships. So a lot of the things that I sponsored were ideas that I got from my constituents, people that had a good idea and talked to me about it, and it resonated with me and we ran with it. Other things that just as I went through or my staff went through, we just felt like this is something that needs to be changed and to get engaged. So I would hear from constituents. I would do research. I would talk to experts. I would see things that were happening, and that would spark an idea of something of, maybe we should think about doing a law here or an amendment to this. So it was all different ways, but oftentimes it was just through those conversations back in my district with people that I represented to get their ideas and then be able to run with those.
That's phenomenal. And it's fascinating because, we don't know from this side of the world, right? Unfortunately, especially, the word of the year for my partner here and I, Rich, is ignorance. A lot of people are ignorant, or they need to be educated on things, right? And unfortunately, again, you have the social media and you have the prime time media outlets that are just feeding whatever the narrative of whatever party is feeding that media outlet, if you will.
Yeah.
One thing that I would say is things have to change. We as a nation have to evaluate other options, right? Technology is evolving more than ever before. I mean, you and
Yes.
I watched a debate a couple of days ago between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. And one of the things that kept on coming back was the idea of housing shortage, which increases the interest rates and inflation, and I feel like that's a residual outcome of what we've been doing for the last 20-25 years, from how the mortgage world works, how the banking world works, how everything really is just the same old traditional way of doing things. What do you envision, especially with your background and your knowledge, as far as what can we do to innovate things? Is it in a blockchain? Is it, crypto, which is still frowned upon in some states and very adopted in others? What do you think in terms of changes that you may want to suggest, or we may consider as people, that can break this cycle of just repeated poverty or repeated struggle, if you will?
24 years served in elected office, but through that time, most of the time I was had a job. When you're in Congress, unfortunately, for most things, fortunately, I don't know, it depends on how you look at it. But for me, I had to give up my work as a lawyer, working in finance, to focus on Congress, which was great. But once I finished there back in early 2019, I lost, which was disappointing, but again, was such a good thing for me and my family to have been able to serve, but also to not be serving right now and be able to focus on some other things and be able to take this passion that I have and some of the experience I have to help people. So I've done a lot of things. Some people kid me not being able to keep a job, but I'm a lawyer. I'm a financial advisor, been state rep, state senator, congressman, and also a banker, and now lead a group that helps banks across Illinois, helping them with education, helping them with dealing with government, dealing with the legal challenges and the regulators that they face. But, one of the things we think about all the time, and certainly I thought about, served on financial services committee. I also served on the science, space, and technology committee, that there is innovation, and innovation is good. Sometimes we have to find the right fit for it, so not every piece of information is going to be relevant in every single sector. But, if we can use advancement and innovation to make people's lives better, let's do it. That's always been part of our history, and it needs to be going forward. And there's just certain parts of our economy that just haven't had much change. I think of homeownership and the mortgage process and other things like that sort of have been stuck for the last 30, 40, 50 years, that really not much has happened as far
Absolutely.
as innovation. But if we can find ways to change the trajectory for a family, and I can't think of anything that is a better opportunity to change that trajectory than owning a home, having property. This is, in the history of our world, there's a recognition of value of property, value of
It's not a fad. It's not going anywhere.
No, absolutely not. And
Yeah.
and the other thing that, if there's a way for us to use technology, the other thing that's unique about real estate is that it has multiple values. So it has this, we own a home, and so we've got the value of that home that my wife and I have that increases every single year. We're seeing an increase in that, but we also get to live in it. So we have that use value of it. My wife and I, a couple of years ago, bought a home that was totally beat up, totally ripped apart. We were able to buy it on auction, and we were able to use our date nights as a couple to fix this home up and flip it and sell it to a young couple, the little girl. Just game changer. Literally, this house was a drug house. Now that is a great family home with the swing set in the back, that's changing people's lives. So the power of home ownership, of real estate, is incredible. The problem is there's still a big sector of our population that just can't get that opportunity because of this old way of looking at things, of looking at, credit reports and credit history. And, your all the other things that play into being able to get a mortgage, that there's some people that are just left out of that and have to rent, which, again, that's a fine opportunity, but basically you're paying for somebody else's ownership of that home. So if there's ways that we can use technology, use advancement to be able to open up new opportunities for people to be able to buy a home, to live in a home, to access the dual values of a home, so that growth over time of that home, but also the value of usage of that home. I just get really excited about that. I've got some good friends that I've been able just to be a sounding board with them of hearing some of this. Solos is just a company that just is at the beginning stages, but it's just onto something of how do we open up opportunity for more people into the future to be able to truly enjoy the American dream. That I think a pivot point is ownership, owning property, owning a home, maybe owning several homes, and being able to build up that value that ultimately becomes not only a game changer for that family, but generational wealth that you can pass on to future generations. But it's one of those areas that we need to look at, how does blockchain, how does cryptocurrency, how do some of these other things out there with access to information, access to authentication of assets, of ownership, how is this going to change things? And I just know it is going to change very significantly. I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg, whether cryptocurrency, whether it's Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I think it's a great thing, but I almost feel like it's like the science project that we haven't really applied it to how is it
the nuances. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'd love to dig into this side of the conversation. I'm very proud. Obviously, I'm personally going to be bringing Solos to the masses, and just because, look, many of my audience members know you might not know Representative Hultgren, but I was homeless for 3 years in a third world country. So the idea of not having a roof over your head is a scary thing. And now more than ever, I mean, the average rental property in the United States is over $3,600 a month right now. And this is, we're not even talking New York or the Bay Area. I mean, we're talking about, the traditional suburbs and mid America. And that's a scary thing because the income has not gotten up as much as everything else has gotten up. So I believe what Solos and what fascinated me, and I would love to kind of get into a conversation, because with new things, there are new skepticisms. A lot of people are skeptical, and I understand it and I welcome it. We've heard scary stories, especially you hear blockchain, crypto, it immediately triggers, right? So let's talk about the very first piece that everybody usually asks, and, please help me and educate me if you can, because of your background. The idea of owning a home or having home ownership or a path towards home ownership without the traditional mortgage barriers like a credit check and income check and tax return check. Those are not necessarily as impactful factors for Solos for somebody to have the ability to become a homeowner, or at least get into that dream home as they're working towards ownership. Tell us a little bit about your perspective on that, whether from a compliance standpoint or any area that you think is relevant for us to be educated on.
I'm happy to talk about it. And again, have some personal experience. Worked with the company that put together investments back in the 2007, 2008, 2009, kind of through that whole housing crash. But the reality was,
talk about trigger words. You just triggered every realtor in America.
Sorry about that. But it's the reality was there was a problem there. There was some people who, and I'm an attorney. I used to do real estate. I remember so many closings where I'd go to it where somebody would buy a home and they would borrow 125% of the value of that home. So they were walking away with a check after purchasing that home because there was this assumption, that it's always going to go up. I do believe it goes up over time, but not always in the next year or two. It's a process that happens. I still believe you look over time, nothing has been consistent of growth as real estate. It's one of the things we saw was vast majority of homes and families were continuing to pay for their homes. It's just this tiny little percentage that weren't able to, that walked away, whatever, but it affected the entire system, the confidence of the system crashed because of literally a couple percent of people. And so that's where, again, we need to have other ways of looking at, and, unfortunately, credit ratings, it's important. I think about mine. I tell my kids to understand what credit means. Debt and paying on time and all that is really important. But it's just a snippet, it's just a little piece of it. So if you can dig deeper and really understanding kind of the full perspective of someone, it's a much better predictor of how they're going to do with homeownership. And I think that's where right now the current mortgage process is missing out. They're stuck in this old mindset. But there's new ways of looking at it, of really finding people who can show that they're going to be responsible homeowners, that they are doing great work of being responsible with their bills and payments and things like that, but don't necessarily fit with the credit ratings or other things that certain groups out there look at. And again, this is a sector of our economy. So many things have changed over the last 30, 40, 50 years. This is something that really hasn't, of how people get mortgages, how they purchase homes. We used to talk about it that, at a closing, it's like a book of papers that you get of all the different documents that you have to sign and disclosures and things like that. And, it's all important, but it becomes numbing to people. Is there another way for us to be able to recognize value of property, recognize that it's important for anybody who wants to be able to pursue this, that there ought to be a path, that in the next year, 2, 3, 5, that you can set up a path to be able to own a home, own property, and maximize that benefit, like we talked about, the dual value of property, of appreciation of that property and use value of property. And again, I think, I'm excited for what you're doing and others that I've met in this process that unfortunately, a lot of people have just been locked out of this, or, I get back to the politics where, there's certain people benefit when others give up. When other people say, I'm never going to be able to do that, then other people are like, all right, more for me. No, it's not true. There's always opportunity. And there's, a lot of times it is these kind of a fresh idea, something that uses technology in a way that would never have been possible in the past, that opens up opportunities for people to pursue this idea of the dream of owning property, of benefiting for property, from ultimately being able to pass on that value, if you want to future generations. That's game changer. And I'm excited about it.
You're going to hear me always somehow, some way, make my way back to scripture. The harvest is plenty, but the workers are few. That's right. So there is plenty of opportunities there. For those who and what's fascinating, by the way, what I fell in love with Solos is not just for somebody who wants to just buy a house for the very first time, it's also for those who may have a home right now and are struggling with their own mortgage payments. Right. That Solos can actually help. Same concept of, instead of refinancing and going through the same hurdles of lengthy approval processes, high credit requirements, the high interest fees and the hidden fees and the burger fees. And then, of course, you have the market barriers. All of that is absolutely removed in a compliant way that allows the world not only to save, in some cases, 30 to 50% on what you would normally pay first time or already owning a home, but at the same exact time, you're paying it at a shorter period of time. In the Solos world, it's only 15 years and you can have it all paid off. How is that possible, right? That's what the average mind is thinking. Like, what do you mean? What if this is such a thing? How come the banks aren't doing that right now for me?
It's a good question. I love banks, but they're limited to the current structure of how things are handled. The reality is, so many entities are currently involved in that process that is incredibly expensive to be able to buy and sell. So if you can narrow that and really get to the point of it. And I think that's like the power of blockchain, even thinking about title, the ability to have absolute confidence of a value of a piece of property. Blockchain is incredibly powerful there. We really haven't tapped into being able to use that power of testing to and bringing that confidence of title. But it's all of these different areas and levels that are part of it. Again, technology is incredibly powerful, but I still think relationships are important too. So that's the other thing that I get excited about, with some of these ideas that you've been talking about, others have been talking about, that it still recognizes the importance of someone as a guide who can walk alongside, but tap into this technology that's out there that maybe you've heard about, that it seems intriguing, but it seems scary, to kind of demystify it and say, no, this is something that is going to be a game changer for you. I really think it's, the future of bankers is going to be that guide, that there's still going to be a need always for someone to be a guide, whether it's a banker, whether it's someone in real estate, a realtor, to be that guide to help people, but tapping into the technology that can make it so much more efficient, so much quicker, and truly opening it up to a lot more people who just haven't had access in the past.
Yeah. And the other thing that is interesting to me is the fact that, and again, this is based on personal research, so we may be on point or maybe fact checked on this, but there's, out of all the money that is around the world, only 30% is actually printed cash, which a lot of people who have this idea of, well, I'm not about digital currency or cryptocurrency. Well, the reality is 70% of the money out there is exchanged from account to account digitally already. And what Solos has done, and what I appreciated, was the idea of REDs, or real estate dollars, that you can actually convert your USDD into actual non-custodial wallet, and you can leverage that to manage your finances. And it's part of the process. Whenever I get involved, and I've been very, very blessed over the last 18 years that I've been in business. I've taken 2 companies public. I've been able to do about $2 billion of sales with multiple different companies, and we've had our massive growth of business internationally, and we've had our crashes, whether it was market or economy, whatever the case may be. But one thing that I always evaluate, how is this going to create a win-win-win, and specifically for the everyday average individual, because that's really the person that can drive you or pretty much kill it, right? That's why many companies think of an exit. Well, in here, I realized that the person that has a dream of owning a home, they have a path that is so crystal clear, so simple, and also transparent, that, hey, here's the money that you're going to put in, here's what it's going to equate to, and here's how you're going to be able to be on your dream home. But at the same exact time, I looked at the other token. There are millions of realtors in the United States alone, and many of them are suffering because of these very same barriers, of the fact that the system that we have right now doesn't unfortunately help the simplicity of qualifying and getting somebody ready to go. I mean, heck, I've done extremely well. My wife and I had $250,000 sent out for a home that we wanted to buy as a down payment. And guess what? Three times, the broker would come back like, hey, we thought we were gonna, but the interest rate just changed. So we're going to have to change, and we're going to have to change, and we're going to have to try. And he kept on delaying. And it became this frustrating concept. Well, we were already in the process of purchase. So I can only imagine so even the realtor and or the broker, it's opening a vast golden era of closing more business, having more clientele, and bringing a lot more income to their families that they really need at this point where the economy is. So what's your perspective on the concept of REDs, or the real estate dollars, in terms of a business model itself, whether from a compliance standpoint or your vision for it in the direction that the world and the United States economy is heading?
Well, I'm still learning, and I guess I would encourage other people to learn. Study it.
Yeah.
You're seeing, how to get some more information here. But I think, I look at stock markets and investments, and how when I, as just a average person, get opportunity to invest in something, boy, so many people have already taken a chunk of that before I ever even got a chance to take a look at it. And then you look at we talked about to start this conversation, how inflation has affected everybody. Certainly housing costs are so high, but all costs are so high. So if there's a way for us to tap into this natural growth of the value of real estate, I think it's like 12% or above, 15, 16% a year, when you put together both the appreciation of that real estate and the use value of that real estate. That's a lot of money And if you
Absolutely.
can, if again, average people can get that kind of investment return and then also get access to it, so you don't have to do a home equity loan. You don't have to go fill out 100 pieces of paper to be able to get access to use the value of your own property. You already own it. And I think that's the power of REDS is really cutting through some of that red tape, that's currently there, allowing people to use what they've got, to use what they already have, but also be incentivized to make it better, to make it more valuable. I think that's, again, the power of real property and home ownership is I do better and my family does better if I make this more valuable. If I keep it up, if I keep it looking great, that it just is helps me. It ultimately helps me in the value of my home, but also helps me to enjoy it while I'm there. So that's what I get excited about is new ways, new technology that allows people to access things that they just haven't had the chance to before, of this really significant return of 12, 15, 18% was something that is absolutely known. Like you said, it's the biggest part of world economies is real estate. And so to tap into that is incredibly powerful, to have regular people like you and I and others to be able to tap into that, like my mom and dad with the funeral home, to be able to tap into that. That is incredibly powerful, and it's really exciting. So I think people should research it, look into it, find out more about it. Talk to Ali, talk to others.
Talk to Ali. That's
right.
that right there. That part right there, Rich. We got to take that and turn it into a meme. Talk to Ali. I will say this: we've been, for the last, I'd say, about 2 to 3 weeks. We actually have been doing research and education on the process ourselves, because look, there's a lot of things out there, and of course, we can get into that for a whole conversation of. You look at Tom Brady and Stephen Curry and all these mega celebrities who went and fell for a scam and with the blockchain platform that ended up being totally a flop, and they had to pay $30 million fees and whatnot. So if they have the legal team and the resources around them and they fell for it, the average person, I understand the skepticism. But I'll go back to, here's another quote for you. Mahatma Gandhi said, the highest form of rejection, of ignorance, is to reject something we don't have any idea about, which comes back to, we just, like you said, do research and educate ourselves. And I promise, my dear loving listener and viewer, we're going to be doing webinars. We're going to be doing a lot more initiatives and email mailing and just a whole lot to educate you so you can have the proper information. But here's what we've picked up on. Here's what most people either care about or say, if you can take care of this, you'll make my dreams come true. And there are 4 pieces. Number one, a lower cost compared to traditional mortgage. That was the very first thing I realized. Like, look, I can't do $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 while I'm barely making $70,000 a year, right? The credit history, especially over the last couple of years since COVID, a lot of people are still trying to recover from the financial hurt that the country has gone through. A faster approval process. I can speak on that. It took 7 months and 3 brokers and repeated processes and more money into a down payment to be frustrated with the whole system itself. So a lot of people are like, hey, show me how I can get it done. Show me now and let me just move forward, because it could be a stressful process. And last but not least, transparency and pricing with no hidden fees. And a lot of time, including myself, I'm like, hey, what is that? Oh, yeah, that's the mortgage broker fee. And what is that? That's another fee and another fee and another fee and another fee. So I think what Solos has put in terms of conviction for me, myself, and I, for my wife and I, is the ability to dream again that, oh, my God, we can actually make an impact. This is what I would call a legacy play. And, I appreciate you really taking the time on kind of like just giving us your perspective. Especially you've seen a thing or two on the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to financial processes and operations out there.
Absolutely. And I will just say, I've been watching this kind of from a distance over the last couple of years, the developments here, and just believe so strongly that we're right on. This is like tip of the iceberg of opportunity, something that is going to open up so much for so many people. I feel like a lot of the things that we've already seen have just missed, of other things out there, whether it's cryptocurrency, whether it's Bitcoin, whether these other things out there are pointing to the power, but not making it relevant to you and I. And so how do you take these incredibly powerful technologies and make it relevant to lift people up? It's one of the things that Abraham Lincoln, I'm most proud of him. And I think others have had this idea of, really what America is about is this right to rise. That it's not guaranteed. It's still up to us, but it's this idea that if I'm committed, if I'm willing to pour myself into it, I've got this opportunity to lift my position for myself and my family and my future. And it's something, your story is all about that, of this idea of the right to rise, not guaranteed. You've seen it, that there's bumps, there's trips, but if we can find tools and avenues and really great people, and I see it behind Solos, some incredibly smart people, some of the smartest people I've ever met, who are passionate about helping people truly achieve their dreams. That's exciting. And you can't, like you said, you just can't let an opportunity go like that. You need to research it. You need to look into it. You need to understand it. And you need to see, what does this mean to me? And Ali, that's what I'm excited about, what you're doing.
Same here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, obviously, if you are in today's challenging housing market, of course, we want to actually give you an opportunity to allow us to help you. There is no commitment. There is nothing that you're signing up for. But in the comments or in a copy of this audio and or video that you're watching and or listening to right now, I'm going to put a couple of links. And some of them may be just a survey to give us an idea of who you are. You may be a first-time dreamer that wants to have financial freedom. You might be somebody who wants to purchase a home. You may be somebody who wants to actually create a legacy and make sure that you're creating generational wealth. You may be a realtor who keeps getting the frustrated, oh my God, I can't get anybody qualified. Or you may be a broker that you are looking for alternatives and options for your market, whichever that you may be. Make sure that you click on the link that is associated with this episode. And of course, we'd love nothing more but to help you out. One of our team members will reach out to you. We do not do mass mailing, or we don't do any targeted autoresponders. We literally are real human beings who are going to reach out to you, because what Solos is doing for me, it's giving me the ability to dream again. See, as a kid that was born and raised in a third world country, who came to the United States after being homeless for 3 years and saying, me no English, who was a busboy and a dishwasher in a restaurant, until this day, many of the people who have known me from 22 years ago would see me in the street or wherever we bump heads and cross path, and they're like, Ali the bus boy, what's going on, my man? That was literally my nickname, and it still is. What Solos is doing for me, it's allowing me to clean up a whole different kind of mess. It's just a financial one nowadays. So
what we present today isn't just a toolbox of financial instruments, it's a transformative journey towards financial empowerment. Let Einstein's wisdom guide you as you harness the force of compound interest, navigate strategically designed programs, and leverage innovative financial mechanisms to script your own narrative of prosperity. Welcome to Solos Money Management, where your financial journey is as brilliant as your aspiration.